Good day to all. This is the first part of our discussions about project management and control. As you can see for the first picture or slide, there is a certain graph or illustration about the various stages of project. So this begins with idea generation or thinking or brainstorming. Then we plan and schedule the activities. We gather the data or collect data. We update our status through the network, and then we also give early warnings or red flags to our project so that we can improve our operations and our tasks in the project management and control, and this would pave a path for successful completion. So this is what we are going to do in a project. We solve a problem, and then we should be able to successfully do it or complete it. For project, especially the definition, this would convert a vision, a dream, or a need to reality. So that's what we would like to have in a project. It is a job that has a beginning and an end, meaning there is a time frame. It has a specified outcome or scope. Then there is a stated level of performance or quality of it, which will encompass overall. So there is always a quality in terms of time, scope, and as well as the budget or costs, financially speaking, overall, since we want that our projects should be able also to satisfy the cost requirements. For characteristics, it is temporary. Again, it has a beginning and end. It will start and finish. Then it is unique because one project is different from the other. The product or service is different in some distinguishing way or aspect. Then in terms of management, so we need to be able to understand the problems, the constraints, the needs, and we have to control the four areas. So a while ago, we mentioned about the cost, time, scope, and quality. In addition, we also incorporate the resources. Then in terms of project management, as we all know, management has functions like four or five depending on the source. But normally we use the five, so POSDC, planning, organizing, staffing, directing, also known as leading, and controlling. So these are the five areas. Basically, a project also should be managed in those four areas or functions. We apply the knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities in order to meet stakeholder needs and expectations from a project. The needs should be stated as part of the project, while the expectations or what we would like to get would be the unstated part. Completion of project on time within budget, so within the costs requirements, and we have to make sure that the quality is not compromised of a project. Why do companies use project management? So why project management? So that we'll be able to handle the projects effectively and efficiently, of course, in terms of the resources. Then to define the project, what is really in mind with respect to the customers, and so that our minds will be aligned also with ours, especially us who will be doing the project. To plan and assess resource needs for the project, of course. Our project normally, because this is management consultancy, so our engagement, the project cost, and we make proposals. We plan and schedule activities in a project to allocate the right resource or resources that we have to use at the right time. So right. Then the risk and failure points, just in case we can assess, and we make the backup plans or contingency plans. Then to lead a project team effectively and communicate well, because rarely that we do the job alone. So we will be working with people, and that's why we have to lead the people properly. Next, why do people learn PM? To explore the latest concepts and techniques of project management. So many reasons, but then this would increase the value or contribution to the organization. So this would also prove the skill of those who will be involved or who are involved. That thought process would be changed in terms of organized thinking and structured approach. Then to acquire a professional degree or recognition about the job, and then job prospects as well, because you have the experiences and so many benefits. In terms of planning, again, the plan would be our guide or the flow overall. So this would tell how work will be done. And The planning is very important because I said that a certain job that is written is already 50% done. So that's how great planning is, because planning is the start or the initiation aspect of any project. So if it is properly planned, it's good at 50% done, or good as 50% done. So these are the all detailed planning works for different aspects of the project as integrated or is integrated into one single plan. And we call this the project management plan, or the PM plan. Here are the inputs, the resources of the business, goal, team, money, time, and equipment, the project, and the output or deliverables, or what we should be getting and what we should be delivering to our clients. Then the PM plan establishes the projects. We will be asking these questions. Why? What's the reason? Why and what? So the management statement of the success. So the whys. Why are we doing this? And should be agreed with the project sponsor or the client's management. Then who will do the work? Who will be involved in this one, especially in the implementation aspect, and the stakeholders or the parties who have their reasons or stakes that they are with the business. So they should be aware. When are we going to do this? Schedules and phasing. How do we do this? The vision to implement the project from beginning to end or from start to finish, and how much in terms of the cost and budgets. Then this is the project management overview. What could be the current challenges that we can experience? There could be so many, but in terms of those factors, then the lack and inability of doing those normally are the challenges. So example would be the inaccurate scope definition and no detailed project plans. So again, lack of such scope not tightly controlled, leading to ROI goals and meet the return on investment goals are not met. The lack of visibility on the resource demands and or load. So what are the constraints affecting the resources? To review inability of that, of course, the projects against changing priorities and conditions. As said, there could be changes about the conditions of the client or business. So inability to review that would be a challenge. No or irregular project health checks carried out. There should be checking of the projects supposedly regularly. By the way, my flow is counterclockwise. Poor or no documentation, so records are very important. Lack of rigor in risk management, no energy about how we manage or minimize the risk. So this is for the quality control and assessment. Lack buy-in due to less or no project communications among the people involved. Then visibility on project procurement, on acquiring the resources and contract management. We cannot achieve it on time, so the time schedule is very tight, no allowances. On budget, there's also inability to be able to live with the budget, and the quality of the deliverables because of the lack of controls or the procedures or processes to ensure that quality would be established then or maintained. The process is that we enter the phase or start the project initiating process, then planning, of course, then we do also the monitoring and controlling processes. We execute, of course, the process, and also we monitor and control such, then closing processes, and this would be the ending point. If you can notice that there are major aspects here, we have the planning, executing or executing, monitoring and control, and closing. So these are like the five areas within the circle or bubble for project management process. Then as said, here are the groups. So initiating process, this is the start. Then this is for project plan and updates. Planning, of course, we get the project plan. We execute the process, so we are working and we control or we have controlling at the same time. This would be able to get feedbacks or variances, especially for cost, and would be able to recommend corrective actions or ways of modifying and improving the process. So by this, there would be correctly produced deliverables for formal acceptance. Then for the closing processes, we should be able to work the results implemented and we should be able to do the corrective actions. Project management process groups are linked by their outputs. And we have to take note that the output of one is input to another. That's very true. So whatever has been the outcome for planning process, which is the project plan, will be the schedules and the work plans that will be executed in the process, and so on and so forth. So in terms of these specific areas, we have planning, scheduling, controlling, and closing. Planning is the very important part or step because it is how good we are in converting the abstract statements of purposes of the organization into concrete ones. So this is the art and science of converting a set of objectives to realization, especially from the abstract to concrete, and making sure that those concrete statements of purposes will be really turned into actual actions. So a series of steps are to be executed in an organized and predicted way so that there will be less requirement of changes in the plan later on. So the old saying would be, if we plan the work, so we'll be able to work the plan accordingly. And failure to plan properly is tantamount to planning to prepare ourselves to fail along the way. So those are the sayings involved here. So if we fail to plan, so we plan to fail. Then next is scheduling. Of course, we have to formalize our activities, the durations, how long, the resources involved, and the sequence or the order. Then planning and scheduling phases are undertaken before the actual project would even start. And this is prior to implementation, of course. Controlling now is when we implement, of course, we have to make sure that all areas have been properly done. And if ever there will be some deficiencies, we'll be able to uncover immediately and make some modifications. So project controlling is very important. This is a mechanism established to determine deviations for the project-based schedule, and then we can replan and reschedule accordingly during implementation to compensate the deviations on the basis of commissioning the minima, so the minimum basis, the flow of resources like finance, manpower, equipment, and application techniques. Overall, we should be able to redirect our resources in case there would be some challenges or there are mishaps or failures to establish properly our objectives and our resources that should be consumed at directed to those again resources. Then closing phase, this is the last part. So this would bring and would close our project completely to its fruition or success. However, we should be taking into consideration that our job might not end here because there is such thing as post engagement or follow-up. So whatever the project requirements are predefined during this phase, the total delivery is made and it is accepted by the customer. So the customer now also would be accepting the responsibility of making sure that the projects are implemented accordingly, and we should be assisting our clients. Maximum conflicts can arise in the project during this phase between those who have worked to deliver the outcome, the contractor, and those who are accepting the results of the work or the customer. So it's really possible that such would happen. Now, here are our knowledge areas. So there are so many things to think about, but we can begin with integration. So incorporation of any knowledge to the project. The scope would be the depth, the intensity of our work, the time, the cost, quality, human resources, the people involved, communication among people or those who are involved with the project, the risk involved, procurement, the acquisition of all resources, and we have to make sure that documents, so if we have these 9 areas, we should be able to document the PM or project management properly, and we should be able to incorporate the change, integrate the change again, and it's a cycle. For the project integration management, this is the first area that we look into. Again, we incorporate any change or any additional knowledge or new knowledge or existing one but not yet applied to our project. This supports various elements of project management which are identified, defined, combined, and coordinated. And by this one, we should be developing the charter, the management plan, Then we should direct and manage the execution of the project. We should monitor and control the project work, integrate change, and then we close the project. For the charter, so this is like the bylaws wherein we should be able to see the details of the project. So the authorization, the parties involved, the requirements, who are the project initiators or sponsors, normally external to project organizations. So the stakeholders involved for the project, then the resources that could be applied, and the summary of the milestones. Next would be the scope. Again, this would be the depth, intensity of the job or work or project. This includes all the work required and those work that are value added or value adding because they are needed for the completion of the project. So the requirements, the scope, the work breakdown structure or WBS, again, verification of the scope. Then project scope management, especially for the WBS, this is a unique one because this is a deliverable rather oriented hierarchical decomposition of work to be executed by the project team. And then this would create required deliverables and accomplish project objectives. So the work breakdown structure from the work. So this breaks the work down, or this would show the details, the total scope, and represent specified in the current approved scope statement. So details about the project. Then this is typical work breaks down or breakdown structure of a project or a WBS. So we have the overall project, engineering, procurement, and construction. These are the three departments, as we can say that for those, and then these departments are involved for the completion of the project. This is like for a manufacturing aspect, but in terms of our work or job as consultants, we can also learn from this that there will be departments involved in the completion of the project and they should work hand in hand. All right, so this is the first part of project management and control. Stay tuned for the second part. Thank you and God bless for listening.